Welcome everybody. This is Can you not? I'm almost. God, this is why I didn't want you here.
I live here, bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a cinematic odyssey through the 100 greatest films spanning from the roaring 1920s to the cutting-edge masterpieces of 2024. Carefully curated from the lovely people on Letterboxd. Two intrepid souls embark on a journey through a treasure trove of timeless classics and groundbreaking contemporary works, where each frame embodies the enduring magic of the silver screen. Grab your popcorn and join us on this epic expedition through a century of cinematic excellence, where every film promises to enchant, inspire, and leave an indelible mark on the soul. And now, for your listening pleasure, here are the LetterBros.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of LetterBros, a podcast where we watch movies, talk about movies, and let a wheel decide what movies we're going to watch next. My name is Felix. I'm here with my friend Parker. How are we doing today, buddy?
Doing good, Felix. I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, same here. Well, first off, me and Parker, we've known each other for a little over 2 years now. We have both worked for the same hotel for a while, and we started to grow our friendship through a love of movies and film. And he actually was the one to present to me on getting a Letterboxd account to start tracking like what movies I'm watching and rate them so we can kind of discuss them further. For those of you that, may not know, Letterboxd is a social media app just dedicated to all things film and cinema. You basically pick a movie you've just seen, rate it from 1 to 5 stars, and you can write a diary about it, write what you thought of the movie from, very in-depth comments like Parker has. He has a whole like diagram of how he rates his movies, where mine is like, I think the one that I have that I think is really funny is for Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I gave it 2 stars, and the note was, the only thing I remember about this movie is I got a text saying Michael Jackson died in this movie.
That's one of my favorite reviews, of course.
Yeah, it's great. But again, it's a really good community, and a lot of actors have become very fond of it. You see a lot of videos of them just coming up to actors and asking them what their top 4 movies of all time are, because that's something that you can do on Letterboxd, and it's probably one of the most difficult decisions in life, I would say. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people do different things with their top 4, like, it'll be like top 4 that they've watched this month, or top 4 in any given category that they're feeling at that given time. So it allows you a little bit of play. Obviously, for most people, I feel like most people's top however many movies is usually like pretty fluid. I've attempted to make top 50 lists in the past, and I mean, it's very difficult. We're going to be attempting that here, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Letterboxd has quickly become, well, I've had it for some time, but it's quickly become my favorite social media app by far. Anyone that I've talked about movies with in any capacity, I've recommended to download it so that we can continue to, discuss movies and follow each other on there. So like you said, it's a great community. It's a lot of fun. Over the course of the years, I have devised my own structure to rating movies, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point. But yeah, I'm excited to break down the top 100 narrative features based off that community.
Oh, same here. I'm pumped for it. I mean, we were kind of like going a little back and forth as to like, because obviously there's a lot of top 100 movies list out there. There's the AFI one, like 100 years, 100 movies. There's Letterboxd, but what I really, or even IMDb has one, but what I really liked about Letterboxd is that this one, like you mentioned, it's all community based. So it's not like, some dude who got a master's in film is the one picking these movies. Like, it's the community, and it's what they think are the top 100 movies of all time. So
right, it's
I thought that was really fun. It is crowdsourced. So with that, I'm gonna go and have you tell me, what are your top 4 movies on your Letterboxd?
All right, so the 4 that I have on here right now, I don't think any of them appear in the top 100, unfortunately. I have my favorite movie of all time, which is Back to the Future. A hands down classic, one that I can put on at any given time and enjoy. Scream, which is my favorite horror movie of all time. Of course, just brought a whole new point of view on the slasher genre and really shook things up, which is always a lot of fun. I actually watched this just a couple of days ago for must have been like the 8th or 9th time. I also have Jurassic Park up here and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So there's no real high cinema in my top 4 right now, so to speak, but it's just 4 movies that make me feel good. 4 movies that I can put on at any time. And honestly, that's one of the most important aspects of a movie, in my opinion, is how many times can you watch it without getting tired of it. There's a lot of really great movies out there that I've seen that I wouldn't want to watch again. And while I can give those movies credit where it's due, I've got to be able to watch it multiple times, right? That's the point of a great movie. So that really comes through in my top 4. I'm interested to see what you have on yours. I'm sure that The Dark Knight is on there, right?
So funny enough, it's not. I mean, my top 4 movies are just like things that I can go back to that moment of when I first watched these movies and like feel happy and feel excited to be at the movies. So on my top 4, and this is in no particular order, I have the original Exorcist. It's in my opinion the best horror movie of all time. Like it's kind of like Scream, how like it changed the genre like for its time, but Exorcist was like this blockbuster event of a movie that
it went in the opposite direction of Scream.
Yeah, exactly.
That way.
And it haunts me to this day. Like there's a story that I have behind it that I'm sure we'll go into later, but it essentially like it broke me and has like it's left me scarred with this movie, and I've just come to love it so much. The next one I have is also Jurassic Park. It was like one of the earliest movies I can remember watching, and it's fantastic. It still holds up to this day. The effects are great, the performances are awesome, and I mean, the music is killer. I'm a John Williams slut, so anything like he puts out, like I'm all for it. And then my other 2 actually both came. Well, one came out in 2023, and the other one came out this year. I have Godzilla minus one. I just remember like all the hype on TikTok about it, and I was like, all right. I mean, I love Godzilla. I've loved him since I was a kid. Let me go watch this movie, and it was like I was watching a war drama that just happened to have Godzilla in it. And I know I've been bugging Parker to watch this movie forever. But it's on Netflix now. So I'm sure like he'll watch that. But I've also told him to wait for minus color because it's even better in black and white. It's beautiful in black.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Just watch them both at the same time. Just have like one eye watching color and the other one watching it in black and white. That'd be good. And then my last one I have is Dune Part 2. I know you're not the biggest Dune fan, but I mean, this movie, like, funny enough, another coworker of ours really got me into the first Dune that came out in like I think it was 2020, 2021. She got me into it little bit earlier, and I was hooked. Like you can ask Parker. I was speaking the praises of Dune for like forever. I got heavy into the books, and then the movie came out, and it was like I never seen a movie of this grand scale. Like it made me think of like Lawrence of Arabia or like The Lord of the Rings. Like it's this grand scale like production. Like and we get it as Dune Part 2, and I've seen it in all sorts of different formats. Like I think that was like the second or the third most watched movie in theaters I've ever seen, behind like Oppenheimer and The Dark Knight.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not a Dune hater. I just have never seen them or read them.
Yeah, no, and that's it. And we'll convert him, I'm sure, because it's on this list. The first one isn't, but the second one is on this list. So it'll happen for sure. Which I feel like it'd be even. I hope that's not our first. It'll be even better. It'll be even better with just watching these out of context, because there's a lot of sequels on here too. Like there's The Empire Strikes Back, but not the first Star Wars movie. Like there's Dune Part 2, but not Dune Part 1.
That's all right. I feel like you can still appreciate them for what they are. With Star Wars, I know the concept of Star Wars. I know the general like storyline. It's been a while since I've seen all of them, but I'm sure you'll be able to bring me up to speed anyway.
Yeah. And then going into the next like intro kind of question, what was the last movie you watched?
Oh shoot. The most recent movie I watched was on a plane ride home from Indiana. Was 16 Candles. And that was interesting. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever seen it. Definitely would never be made today. There's a lot of questionable topics, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it. It was one of those movies that like my mom made me watch because she was like she came from Cuba and came here and was kind of like just thrown into this culture. She grew up in Merritt Island, so it was a lot of like American culture all at once. So she was like a big fan of like that era. Like, I forget like what's the name of the director for 16 Candles? Is it John
John
Hughes?
Hughes.
Yeah, so, like all of his movies, like Breakfast Club, like St. Elmo's Fire, 16 Candles, like those are like all her top movies. So she was like, "We have to watch this movie," and I'm like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah, I mean, it
But,
definitely scratches that like 80s classic itch, you know.
which I know you love. You're a little
I do.
synthwave boy.
Yeah, I do love it. I mean, just look at, well, Halloween is the 70s, but you get the point.
What do you mean?
I would say look at the posters I have, but only one of them is from the 80s.
I do love me some Halloween though. I think
I've
Michael
got
Myers
Evil
is
Dead
like
2 and Taxi Driver above me though. You can't; those are out of frame.
as you should. Both incredible movies. I love Evil Dead 2. I really like the new one that came out too, Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, that was a good time. We won't see it on the
It was
Letterboxd top 100 list, but it was a good time.
no, but
What about you?
that may be for some time in the future.
What's the most recent movie you have logged on there?
So we actually just came out of Inside Out 2, which was I think even better than the
Boring.
first one. What are you talking about, dude?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Dude, it was really good, honestly. Like the topics were like they were very relevant for like people our age. I feel like we deal with like a lot of anxiety and just a lot of like pressure, and it gave a nice like clear picture of like not necessarily just because it's from the perspective of a 13-year-old girl. Like we both can't really relate to that right now, but I mean, we can relate to like the pressures of life and having like you know like our anxiety kind of like take over and just it was really good, man. I really enjoyed it, but I'm also like a huge Disney fan, so
It's
I
crushing at
enjoyed
the
it for
box
that too.
office.
Oh, I know. What is it like right now? It's like 155 million dollars.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane, but the movie is great, and you should go watch it.
Yeah, maybe I mean, that's another one. I haven't seen the first one, so.
Mm. You don't
Um,
really like have to, honestly. Like they pretty much keep you up to speed up to like what's going on. Because I mean, the first one hasn't been. The first one came out in like 2015, so it's been a while. It's almost like 10 years ago. So
wow, that's
I
crazy.
know. It is funny to think of that. I was going into Inside Out 2 being like, oh yeah, the movie came out like what, like 5 years ago?
Time flies.
We're old, dude.
Pre-COVID.
It does fly.
It's a pre-COVID movie.
Pre-COVID for sure.
So do you want to dive in and kind of discuss what it is we're really going to be doing here? So this is going to be like an 100 episode series, right? Not including this episode.
Correct. Like this is like episode 0 almost.
You've made a nice little creation, a monstrosity, one could say, of the top 100 movies. Do you want to show it off?
So I will preface it with Parker and I both made this wheel at like 3 a.m. We just like, all right, I'll just go into it. Look at this. She's beautiful.
Can't even read.
No, because I mean, again, there's 100 entries in there. You have to put it all in an Excel sheet and then randomize it. So this is the wheel. This is Letterboxd's top 100 movies of all time, based on again user generated. So this is what we're going to be looking at and letting us dictate our watching habits for the next 100 episodes.
So how many of these movies have you seen? And this is going to be really embarrassing from two people who are about to start a movie review podcast, I think.
Yeah, I know. You would think like out of 100, I think when I looked at my Excel sheet and like counted it, I had 20 out of the 100 movies on here.
And I'm at 14. So a lot, which honestly, that was pretty surprising to me. But scrolling through the list now, there are a lot of foreign films on here. There's a lot of older films. And I'm excited in that sense because I always like to kind of dive into those types of movies. It's just hard to know which ones are worth watching because they're not heavily marketed to us in this day and age, right? So you don't really
No,
know
not really.
other than, what other people have to say and reading a short description or watching the trailer, what's really going to be up your alley. So I feel pretty confident that the foreign movies and older movies on here that I haven't yet seen are going to be good. I mean, they're on this list for a reason. And I think that this list, kind of one of the reasons we chose it is because it has so much diversity on it too. I mean, you have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse next to There Will Be Blood, next to Cinema Paradiso, next to 12 Angry Men, Parasite, all the way down to, movies I've really just never heard of, which is a good thing. I always like discovering new movies.
And I think like in this day and age, like we've been blessed with a lot of like really good and heavily marketed foreign films, which again, like it opens your mind to like what's outside of like Hollywood. Like Parasite was like one of my favorite movies after I watched it. I almost put it on my top 4 just because it's intense. And I mean, crap, what was that horror movie you just had me watch? It was like Argentinian.
Oh yes, When Evil Lurks.
When Evil Lurks, yeah, dude. Like even just venturing outside of like our favorite genres, like like horror or thrillers or all of that, or even like monster movies, like that there's such a huge market just outside of the US in these foreign films that like you said, it gets me excited to like take a deeper dive into like what these movies were like, in the past. Like, there's a Japanese movie on there. I think it's called Harakimi.
You're talking about the number 1 movie, right?
Yeah, with the starting off with the number 1 movie. Yeah, Harakiri out of Japan in 1962. So like this movie's old, but again, it's exciting to like be able to go and dive into these like older foreign films and revisit some films that we've already seen before. I know the Lord of the Rings trilogy is on here, so I'm excited for that too. Because I don't know, have you seen them before?
The Lord of the Rings, no.
Oh, dude. So again, like this list it's good. It's a good mixture of the old, the comforting, the new, experimental. So it's gonna be interesting for sure. So we're gonna
And I think we should mention as well that because this is the Letterboxd top 100, it's fluid. Like movies are always being taken out of the top of 100 and put into the top 100. Even since we made this list, Silence of the Lambs has moved to the 101 spot. And I'm not sure what it is that's entered the top 100, but we're going to be going off the Letterboxd top 100 from about a week ago. We're not going to continue to update and change it. We'll talk about new movies as they come, but I think we're in agreement, right, that we're just going to take this one top 100.
Yeah. And like Parker said, this was from about like a week or two ago, I would say, that we took this snapshot of it and pasted it on this wheel. So that's what we're going to go with. But like to your point, we can give updates as to, this movie was at number 96 and now it completely dropped out of the list and this is the newer edition. So I still think that would be interesting to just mention. If you are ready, Parker, we're gonna take her for a spin.
Yeah, I do have some questions. What are you hoping
Yeah.
it lands on first? Like what are you most anticipating on this wheel?
What I'm anticipating the most, because it's interesting because like part of me is just like I really just want it to land on like movies that make me feel good, like Interstellar or like one of the Into the Spider-Verse movies. But I also am like, I've never seen 12 Angry Men before. So I'm kind of hoping it lands on like something new. So I would say, and The Dark Knight is on here. So that makes me really happy. I would say I am really excited if we get Schindler's List picked as the first one, I'd be really happy because it's a movie that I've been wanting to watch for a very long time and have just never gotten around to it. But I know it's like, you have Ralph Fiennes in it, you have Liam Neeson, like they're just such good performances, and I love both of those actors. So I'm hoping for Schindler's List. What do you think?
Um, I'm really just anxious to see what it does land on more than anything. Some notables that I haven't seen that are on here: Spirited Away, Sunset Boulevard, There Will Be Blood, and Apocalypse Now. They're all kind
You
of
haven't seen There Will Be Blood?
no. So movies like
Oh
that,
my
I'm really anticipating. But I'm also looking at Old Boy, which is a foreign film that I've been wanting to see for forever, kind of like a John Wick style movie, from
Yeah.
everything that I've heard. And of course, Harakiri, to see why it's the number one on Letterboxd.
We were kind of talking about it pre-recording that like, what if it did land on Hanakiri? Like, if we just get off the number one, because like, I was in the same boat. I'm like, why out of literally every movie, why is this the number one generated by all users on Letterboxd? I've never heard of this movie, so I'm on the same boat you are, buddy.
It is literally the only movie ever created and on Letterboxd to have a 4.7 average rating, which is just absurd. Just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, dude. I want to know how many freaking 5-star reviews that thing got.
But there's a lot of long movies on here too, so we'll
oh yeah, dude. Well, actually, question, because and going back to like the Lord of the Rings. So with that, there's extended versions of the Lord of the Rings. So are we doing theatrical cut or are we doing what the director envisioned?
I don't know. We'll have to, I think, cross that bridge when we get to it. Probably the director's cut, I would assume. It's gonna end up being whatever I can get my hands on the easiest with some of these.
Yeah.
Because they won't all be very easy to find, I would imagine.
Oh no. And I'm sure like a lot of these movies like you'll pay for and all that, but I don't think that would be the case. But yeah, so then we'll cross that bridge when we get there, like you said. But I'm a sucker for these things. But before we get into the wheel, do you have any other final thoughts that you wanna?
I'm nervous.
Want to let the people out there know.
The film reel in the middle too kind of looks like a revolver.
So that's what we were saying at first. I'm like, dude, that's what a film reel looks like, man. Plus, there wasn't really a lot of other options, but I feel like something that I was thinking about was like, dude, what if we like got an actual wheel? And, like, posted all of these 100 names on there, and it just, dude, yeah, because I need to figure out a better looking wheel, because yeah, it kind of just looks like it's this very ominous revolver just waiting to be shot.
I kind of like it though. It works as a double entendre of sorts.
It fits the vibe. Let me grab a drinky poo before we get into this.
What you got?
Oh, it's a bottle of Topo Chico. Here we go. Not a sponsor. Spilled all over me, dude. That Mexican bubbly water. All right, Parker, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, buddy. So we are going to give it a spin and let the wheel select our fate.
There we go. Uh-oh.
Oh my god.
You still have it set to a minute.
No way. Sunset Boulevard.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. That's a great first one to do.
Wow. What a selection, dude. I was really thinking, I'm like, oh, great, we're going to watch Into the Spider-Verse as the first movie, but
I just mentioned Sunset Boulevard as one I was excited for, so
you spoke it into the universe, dude.
I'm stoked. So this is currently the number 35 ranked narrative feature on Letterboxd. It has a 4.4 out of 5 stars average community rating. Was directed by Billy Wilder, who also directed The Apartment, which I just recently watched and absolutely loved. So I'm really excited. We have a Hollywood story. Yeah. A hack screenwriter writes a screenplay for a former silent film star who has faded into Hollywood obscurity. And that's all that we have on Letterboxd for it. So have you seen this before?
I had not heard of it, but like looking into it, my another friend of mine actually just watched this movie and rated it 4 stars. He doesn't have an actual like diary on it, but I mean, I take his word for it when it comes to movies. So he doesn't usually rate things 4 stars, but I'm excited. I love old movies.
Yeah, I'm really
Really
excited
will.
for this. I think Billy Wilder, he's pretty well known. He's got a lot of classic movies now, so to speak. From Sunset Boulevard, I would say is probably his most well known. To The Apartment, which I believe is also in the narrative top 100 feature films. Some Like It
Think so,
Hot from
yeah.
1959, Double Indemnity from 1944. I mean, his film catalog is very, very strong. Though I've only seen some of his movies, I know that he's held in a very high regard. So with
Yeah.
Sunset Boulevard being his crown jewel, I'm really excited to watch it. Also, is only
I
an
know.
110-minute runtime, so it's not absurd.
It's just a little snippet of a movie. And I know you were talking about The Apartment before we were starting to record, and you held it in very high regard, and it got me really excited that it was on the list. So to be able to at least get a taste of like his style of filmmaking in Sunset Boulevard, like what you said, with it being his one of his more well known, to kind of get like a full picture as to what his vision is like, and then go into something like The Apartment, hopefully further down the line. But that's going to be an interesting watch for sure. Starting off with a movie from the 1950s, so
I'm really
I'm
excited
stoked.
though. Great first selection, Wheel. Way to go.
She hasn't failed me yet.
That'll be our episode 1 is our review, and obviously it'll be our number 1 so far. But we're gonna rank these as we go, right? Is kind of the plan.
Yeah, so we're going to be kind of creating our own top 100 list in terms of that, just like what me and Parker really like from the 100s list. And we'll have them posted up here as well on like a Google Doc. And obviously, like to Parker's point, this will be number 1 because this is the only movie we've seen. But
we're not going to pre-rank movies that we've already seen, if that makes sense.
No.
We're going to rank them as we watch them.
Yeah, because I'm sure like going into this, they're going to be taking off some of the nostalgia goggles for movies that we've already seen or like had preconceived notions about. Like it's going to be nice going into it with a fresh set of eyes and be able to discuss it and kind of really pin it against other movies that are on the list. So it's going to be an interesting time for sure.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
But I believe that is going to do it for today. I want to thank Parker again for sitting with me and joining me on this lovely adventure of ours.
I'm excited to get it going. It's going to be a really good time.
Of course. All right. Hey, come up here. You're not in the camera. And she's excited too. So we're going to watch Sunset Boulevard after this. All right, now get down. All right. Well, thanks again, Parker. And thanks everybody for watching. Again, we are the LetterBros, Felix and Parker. Do you have any socials that people can go and look you up on?
Yeah, I think really the only appropriate one for me to mention right now is my Letterboxd. So if you'd like to follow me on Letterboxd, it's Parker_Paget. I've got my whole star rating system up there. I'm adding movies every week. So definitely give a follow on there, and would love to see some of y'all's reviews as well, because I always like reading people's input from movies that they've been watching and getting good recommendations. So yeah, just the Letterboxd, and of course LetterBros. Stay tuned.
Yeah, social media for that coming up. And then you can also follow me on Letterboxd. It's Etzio911, ETZIO911. I also go and put up some reviews every now and then when I decide I want to go to the movies, and it's going to be nice to, maybe get into some discussions with people about movies. That's what these reviews are for. It's to help build a community and help discuss the things that we like, and it's going to the movies and supporting the art of filmmaking, and it's going to be an interesting and lovely journey. So again, thank you everybody, and we will see you till the next one.